Hello and welcome to another episode of Chat Sports Talk. And it's been a wild time frame since my last video. There's been a lot more rumors floating out there, a lot more teams looking to move. I'll cover over some of those, what I've heard, and maybe some possibilities of it happening. But it's really hard to really fathom a lot of this happening, and could we see the demise of the Pac-12 completely? We'll first start off with Florida State. Reports coming out of Tallahassee that they were discussing with the ACC with the possibility of them leaving early and negotiating a $300 million buyout that they will pay $30 million for 10 years. This is probably a push for them to possibly make a jump to the SEC. The Big Ten's also been rumored to do that as well. What does that mean for the rest of the ACC? I think the only other school with that type of funds is probably Clemson, and that's been kind of rumored as well. Because the ACC is falling behind quick, fast, in a hurry comes to the money aspect. The Big Ten and SEC are running away, and that's one of the major problems with college football right now. And it's a topic I want to touch upon, but I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers with it, so I'm holding off on it for right now, but I have a feeling that rant video will be coming. And the ACC needs to do something. They need to renegotiate that contract with ESPN. There is no way about it. They've already restructured the disbursement of funds depending on what you did through the season, which I think is a small band-aid on a large cut. It's not going to really stop them from possibly looking to jump ship. If Florida State leaves the ACC, I don't think it'll be a deathbed for the ACC. If Clemson leaves as well, now we have problems. But right now, nothing's been put in motion about Florida State leaving. They just kind of try to negotiate a deal to put in place in case they want to leave. If there's happened to be anything else, because the money in SEC and the Big Ten is probably a big factor. Next, the Arizona Wildcats look like they are heading to the Big 12. The Big 12 has approved the application of Wildcats to join their conference to get the Big 12 up to 14. Especially get that U of A basketball in the same conference as Kansas and Baylor and Cincinnati. That's really enticing. Wildcats football has had some great has prospects of doing decent. So it's not a too bad of a addition. And I think the reason behind that is the lackluster media rights deal that the PAC is trying to sell its members. Right now, it's floating out there that Apple Plus is the only one willing to divvy up funds to the PAC, and it's about $20 million per team with incentives, depending on how the school does in terms of getting subscriptions and how much viewership that particular game gets. Depends how much more of the pie they will actually end up getting. That's even worse than the ACC deal. That's now started to speed up the talks about Oregon and Washington going to the Big Ten, and possibly Stanford and Cal joining them as well, making the Big Ten a 20-team conference. The Pac-12 shows the ineptness of leadership. Shows the ineptness of elitism, because they thought they were better than anyone else, and they quickly found out they are not. when they expanded to 12 and shrugged off BYU for Colorado, that kind of lets you know what the problem was with that conference in terms of leadership. They didn't change the leadership in the time frame of trying to get a new media rights deal. And they were fighting and trying to get things done. USC was starting to talk about leaving before that. But there was no way to really kind of help solidify them to be there. And then UCLA joined them in the exodus to the Big Ten, and it's a surprise move that shocked everyone. And I think it's going to start a arms race with the SEC. I think we're going down to maybe 2, possibly 3 conferences. The rate things are going, and that's part of the other issue I have with college football. But if Arizona does end up going, because right now it's kind of on hold as they're trying to figure out some things in the Pac12 to kind of have, trying to see if they can keep them there. This is actually coming from the ArizonaSports.com, talking about the Arizona hold. So I'm going to read it verbatim, basically. In Arizona, reports of the Wildcats' interest in moving to the Big 12 gained steam, heading to the Board of Regents meeting on Thursday night, which is just August 3rd. The Big 12 even approved the admittance of Arizona on Thursday. But multiple reports indicate the Arizona State Sun Devils' reluctance to leave the Pac-12 and the region's desire for the rivals in the desert to stay in the same conference could swing one or both schools to remain in the Pac-12. They went so far as reporting that the Arizona Board of Regents controls the decision for both Arizona and Arizona State. The Arizona schools, I think, do feel compelled to stay together in one way or the other. Not saying it's done, but there are maybe more synergy to stay where they are. One thing I do think improved what George Kalifkoff in the Pac-12 could put on the table for everybody was some sort of involvement with the ACC, whether it's a scheduling agreement or an alliance of some kind. I think there has been something that sweetens the pot that could put down as a revenue source for the schools. In merging, that also increases the input of money that comes in that could really help out a conference to stay afloat, especially when you're looking at how much money the Big Ten and the SEC makes. The Big 12 is up there as well. Once they add that 14th member, will it be Arizona? It depends if they're able to leave the pack. Right now, it's kind of on hold, but I have a feeling it might happen anyways. I was looking at possibly Memphis or South Florida making the jump, and then when I start hearing rumors of Florida State trying to leave the ACC, now I start thinking maybe Florida State goes to the Big 12. It is a interesting concept where things kind of go. If Arizona does fall and goes to the Big 12, I think Oregon, Washington, Cal, and Stanford will also leave to join the Big 10. That'll leave the other programs scrambling. They'll probably find so everyone probably end up going to the Big 12 to make the Big 16. So I think Arizona State and Utah might make that move. Washington State, Oregon State, who knows what happens to them? They right now are the redheaded stepchild. No one seems to want them, and it's unfortunate. There are two good football programs that could be on the outside looking in, and maybe get downgraded to a Group of 5 status and join the Mountain West. It is really difficult to kind of see how this plays out. Maybe they join the Big 16 and then they let UCF and West Virginia join the ACC to kind of bounce things out. I don't know. But it is hard to tell. The Big 12 has approved Arizona's admittance. However, Arizona has yet to withdraw from the pack. There's possibilities that the Arizona Board of Regents may force them to stay. I doubt that. The Pac-12 media rights deal is abysmal. But what teeth do you have? We don't have USC and UCLA. You don't have the second largest media market in the U.S. it's hard to kind of say, hey, this is what we're going to have. You don't have the history of those two storied schools in the conference anymore, so you're not going to draw as much money as you normally would. And you're looking at just how these conferences are moving and shaping and how things are kind of playing out. Could this be the end of the Pac-12? They are on life support. I think if one more program leaves, that is it. Especially if Oregon leaves. Or Utah. The Pac will be done. I don't think another school will want to make the jump up if they're not going to be viable enough and make enough money. $20 million is going to be more incentive for like schools like San Diego State and Colorado State to make the move up, because that's more money than they get in the Mountain West. But it's hard to determine how things are going. We'll see how this kind of plays out. I think right now Arizona is going to be the 14th member of the Big 12. Change the name to Big 14. They really should. I think it's the end of the Pac. Going down to the Pac-8 without any major program, without USC, UCLA, might not help Oregon and Utah if they make good runs. I don't know. This is unfathomable territory where this is going right now. Once any more information gets out there, I'll try to get this face in front of this camera and just kind of do my rant and rave and let you enjoy it or not. Right. As I was editing the video about Arizona possibly leaving and the Pac being on life support, apparently they just donated a kidney and a lung. The Big Ten has been reported in the final stages of negotiating an expansion to 18 teams at adding the University of Oregon and Washington. I got it lifted over here. I got Yahoo Sports up. I saw it also on Twitter as well. The move adds the Pacific Northwest presence and plus the rival USC UCLA, which means they'll have up and down the West Coast. The only thing they're missing is the Bay. I have a feeling that Stanford and Cal are not too far behind. As mentioned before, the Big Ten's media right deal could reach up to $65 million per year, per institution even. And right now, the Apple TV Plus estimates range between the $20-25 million range, which I mentioned earlier in this video. So that leaves the question around, like I said, Cal Stanford. I think Cal Stanford will be heading towards the Big Ten. There's been talks of possibly them going east and try to grab ACC schools. Could they help entice a couple of them to leave, give them a loan? It's a possibility. It really is. I think the Big 12 will end up adding Arizona State, and Utah. I think all those get added. Like I said, it just leaves Oregon State, Washington State out. I go back to my original premise. Maybe they get added to the Big 12, and the Big 12 lets UCF and West Virginia walk. I doubt that. It is a sad day if you're a Pac-12 fan. The quote-unquote Conference of Champions is literally dying before our eyes. If Washington and Oregon do officially leave and Arizona leaves, that is it. Pac-12 is done. They are beyond burnt by this point. It is a done deal. The rest of the leagues to get in there and start carving them up. Maybe Oregon State, Washington State go ACC. There's an interesting move. And it all goes to poor leadership by the Pac. That's all it is. Poor leadership by the Pac. If they would have done everything correct, or if they would have done things differently and really focused on trying to get a good deal with the teams they had, the time frame they had, maybe try to strengthen the conference before they start losing teams. They wouldn't be in this position. Unfortunately, it is what it is. You cannot change the past. You can only move forward. And this is the ideal landscape of college football right now. It's all about the money. Where can a school make the most money? Which shouldn't be the case, but that seems to be how it's going now. And what a crazy, crazy, crazy world we live in. Hey, you can mix it up in the comments below. Just to try and keep it civil. I know there's going to be a lot of fanfare going about this one. Once you're down, you go hit the thumbs up for me, especially the content provider really pleases YouTube gods, really help pleases the algorithms and get this channel up and running faster. You also subscribe. Doesn't cost you a dime. Helps me provide more time value for you. Once you subscribe, make sure you click that bell icon, turn on notifications until next time I post any more content on my channel. And I will see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.